Hello, Gemini friends. This is Visalia Tarot and Astrology direct from my bedroom to yours. And these are your oracle readings for the month of March. So I'm going to start by pulling a general overview card for you from the Thoth Tarot. So your overview card for March is the Princess of Cups. It's always tricky when I pull a court card for an overview, but the Princess of Cups always makes me think of returning to a kind of innocence or a tenderness. It's a very, especially in this deck, there's just a lot of sweetness in this card. And maybe there's just a real need for sweetness and gentleness for you right now. It feels like it isn't a month to undertake any great, endeavors. Perhaps you've been doing a lot of that for the past few months, be it in some practical or work-related way or in some sort of inner way. Seems like this month is a month to take it easy and be a little bit gentler on yourself and, tend to your emotional needs, but the kind of simpler ones, not the part of you that wants, intensity and transformation all the time, but the part of you that wants to just, snuggle a cat on a couch or a turtle. Yeah. Um, and maybe also tending to a kind of a childish part of you that's maybe been forgotten and sort of letting it have what it needs. Maybe this is something that, needs to happen periodically after periods of great transformation or growth and development. There need to be these more quiet periods, I think, where we can integrate knowledge that we've gained and before we move on to the next big thing, so to speak. So it's looking to me like a kind of a self-care month for you, Geminis. And spending time with children or animals or things that make you feel kind of warm and fuzzy inside. So I'm going to pull a message from your higher self from the archetypes deck. So I've got Thanatos. So this is an ancient Greek word referring to death, or later called the death drive by psychoanalysts. And very interesting contrast here. Pretty different forces. Yeah, so maybe while you're taking care of your inner child and tending to your needs, there is still a process unfolding in you, and maybe this is why you do need to take it easy a little bit, because there's something happening on a very profound level that is perhaps a kind of slow change, and that has to do with really quite intense fears that you may hold. The ultimate fear being the fear of death, but it is, of course, also the fear of loss, the fear of change, insofar as change involves loss. And it seems like you might be coming to terms with some of those darker forces. Perhaps these have been themes that you have been aware of recently, but it seems like this month it's time to kind of put that almost on the back burner. It's still happening, and it's time to just sort of take a break, take care of yourself, while knowing that that process is still operating. within you, but maybe taking it a little bit slower. And finally, I'm going to pull a kind of guidance card for you for this month from the Amenti Oracle. And perhaps this will kind of clarify how these two cards can come together. So I've got I am accepting. Really interesting. The image actually makes me think of a person, yeah, like facing, the kind of abyss of whatever that may be of our profound fears, but facing them in this very yin way. And this looks like water here too, which is making me think of the Princess of Cups. So I'm starting to think that there's something about a kind of yielding that's going to be required of you this month. And maybe it's about, this inner work that you've been this work, that you've been undertaking is not over, but it's time to approach it in a less kind of active, proactive way, and in a more sort of yin, receiving way, which may be the key, maybe kind of the next step. So, for example, if you are, let's say that there is a kind of fear of change, and you've maybe wanted to address that fear aggressively by, convincing yourself not to be afraid or putting yourself in challenging situations. It seems like that could be counterproductive ultimately, and that the sort of phase you're in now is how to sort of just sit with some of those discomforts, and sort of yield to them, kind of like the woman in this image. Yeah. So I'm gonna now read a random passage from a book for you, a little bit of bibliomancy. The fact is, the nature of perfection is always mutating. What constitutes enlightenment today will always be different tomorrow. Even if you're fortunate and wise enough to score a sliver of enlightenment, it's not a static treasure that becomes your indestructible, everlasting possession. Rather, it remains a mercurial knack that must be continually re-earned. It's really interesting. So yeah, I hope you have a good month, Geminis. Take care.